It's time to get sexy on Secular Sexuality.
Hello and welcome to Secular Sexuality. I am Megan Bonner, and joining me as always is my co-host Christy Powell.
Howdy.
And joining us today, not one but two special guests with us. From Black Widow Burlesque, Miss O'Kiss.
Hi.
And Hans Ferdinand.
Hey there.
And if anyone is interested in getting to know more about Black Widow Burlesque, how can they contact you guys or look into your content?
You can find us at Black Widow Burlesque on Facebook, and we also are at blackwidowburlesque.com.
Cool. All right. So we met up with you guys on Saturday, and we had a lovely chat. I personally had a great time, and we actually recorded the conversation. So throughout the episode, we will be tossing out bits from that interview, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, roundtable discussion, tea time, tea-side chat, really?
There was tea.
Yeah.
It was
There
delightful.
tea.
It was a great time.
Blame Miss O'Kiss for that.
And in the chat, we also had your co-performers, Ginger Snaps and Scarlet Fury. They just were not able to fit all around this table tonight.
Right?
So
We're a little tighter than normal, but it's a sex show, so we're good for it.
All right.
So, if you have any questions at any point, it doesn't have to be related to burlesque, but these are our guests tonight. Call us at 512-686-0279. And if you would like to like and subscribe, please like and subscribe. Our guests, how are you guys tonight?
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah?
I just got
surviving
back
cedar
from
fever.
Tennessee.
Right? Yeah.
So, what interested you guys in having this, coming on here to be with us tonight?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. Ginger was like, hey, does anybody want to do this podcast? And I was like, yeah, go on then. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of just cold called Ginger, and she got back to me and she was like, yes, how many of us? And I was like, well, usually we kind of just have the one. And she's like, that's not going to work. Everybody's excited. Everybody wants to be a part of this. So,
And we were able to get not one but two of you here. So, again, Miss O'Kiss and Mr. Hans, we will be, let's see here. Do you guys want to chat a little bit about the burlesque, or do you guys want to see a little bit of the video first?
Let's kick it off with some video.
Yeah.
You want to kick it off? Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, our wonderful producer.
Thank you all so much for having us here. And I think I just really kind of wanted to start with who the hell are you and why does anybody on the internet care?
Those are both really valid.
Right, yeah.
I can only answer like one of those.
Yeah.
My mom asks me the same thing every single day. So, yeah.
I'm Ginger Snaps. I am one of the original members of Black Widow Burlesque, so it's been 10 years now. Actually, now that we're in January, it's officially 10 years old.
10 years of Black Widow Burlesque.
I strip, I take my clothes off in the air, I spin around a lot, and people seem to like it.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
Winning formula. Getting that there are chickens involved, there's some weird shit, there's flying through the air.
Taking some clothes off.
Yeah,
The
so
chicken
that's...
keeps its clothes on.
Okay,
Yes.
that's important for decency standards.
Did they take the little belt off?
No, we put the belt on. It's a little spice belt.
Stay on.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Santa strips the chicken dresses.
Yes.
Right, got it. We're talking about stripping, we're talking about burlesque, we're talking about flying through the air. What actually is burlesque? Is it stripping? Is it not stripping? What are we talking
Theatrical
about?
striptease.
Theatrical striptease. I like that.
Yeah, this is a question we talk about a lot in my burlesque class.
Sure.
And because everybody always loves to try to define burlesque and come up with their own definitions of it and say, this is burlesque or that's not burlesque. And I usually just tell my students it's theatrical striptease. Are you presenting me with some sort of tease? Yes. Is the clothing coming off? Yes. Congrats, it's burlesque. The rest is up to you.
How is it different than going to a gentleman's club or a cabaret or these different things? Or is it different?
I think
I would say it's very different. You're going to get a very different energy from a strip club versus a burlesque show.
And I was going to say, as many years ago, as a former stripper, that's much more of doing the things on stage, more so to sell yourself for individual dances, for the relationship you build with your customers. Whereas with burlesque, it's more about a performance for an audience rather than just kind of an advertisement.
And as someone who once got asked to do a burlesque act at a strip club, and I knew it was
how did that go over?
awful. I'm like, I'm getting paid $200, but I know this is gonna suck. And I got on stage, and the guys was like, "Why is this bitch wearing clothes?" They're gonna come off. But not that much. And first I'm going to mess around with this giant caterpillar. They're just like, all right. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're doing this for 4 minutes. All right, guys. It's miserable for me as it is for you.
Yeah. Well, the reality is these used to be the same thing. So back in kind of like the heyday of burlesque, that was the strip club. And it came to a point where these two things veered off, and you had strip clubs the way we know them now versus the more theatrical burlesque styles.
Yeah, so why burlesque then? I mean, why something that you were wanting to?
Because I like not making money.
So many options.
Yeah, here with a volunteer organization. We're with you.
Art, so why not just drive it home? But yeah, no, for me, I kind of accidentally trained myself into burlesque. Because I didn't start really till college. I know, like, how the fuck does that happen?
I'll hold my questions till the end, thank you.
I ran a Rocky Horror Cast for many years.
Excellent.
And I started taking dance classes in college. And then when I moved here and someone's like, hey, aren't you such and such burlesque performer? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And so I researched it and I'm like, oh shit, I should be. Yeah, it's just like, I guess for me, I always wanted to be a drag queen. And this was kind of my version of that. So I like the drama, I like the sparkles, I like the ownership of your body and presenting your sexuality the way that you want it to be perceived. And just the theatricality of it and the athleticism when you start incorporating aerials as well.
So where can people find you guys performing if they want to see a show?
Well, so
not a lot.
Yeah, we primarily perform at the North Door, and you can find out more information about all of our upcoming performances as a troupe on the website, which is blackwidowburlesque.com. And then as individuals, we also perform in shows outside of just our troupe shows. So as a troupe, we produce and perform in 3 to 4 shows out of the year, and then we do other stuff as well. Like I think a couple of the people here performing in the Amansa Pet fundraiser show I'm doing in February.
Are we?
Yeah, I'll get it.
Oh, excellent.
That's fair.
I did harass you guys. Like I'm not gonna be like, hey, send me your stuff. Send me your stuff. You're not in the show.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. No. But yeah, so you can find us all over.
Now, I do have a question because the classic idea of burlesque, like you said, it could be multiple different things. But I never did think of a man doing a burlesque show, to be honest. Tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in this role.
So, a few years back, I was going to a lot of shows, and the troupe that I was watching advertised for an academy. And it just so happened that I had that day off, and they were going to do a showcase. I said, sure, I'll go see that. And this was the first time that they'd ever showcased boylesque or manlesque or whichever way you want to flavor it this time. And I saw a pirate strip act, I saw a guy doing a motorcycle number, and then I saw something that spoke to me, which was from Street Fighter, Guile burlesque. And I thought, what the hell? I've never seen nerdlesque properly. Like, I was only seeing one troupe at that time, and I was like, okay, I've got to see this. And I maybe had a couple of beers, and I then told the headmistress, Coco, I'm definitely going to sign up. And I did. And I went and I did a full semester, and I did one show, and just the energy coming off of that show was just nothing I've ever had before. And I can't not do this anymore. It's just part of me.
It's the first story I've ever heard that starts with "I had a few beers" and ended with "and so I completed a semester." Usually it's the opposite.
Generally, yes.
I like that you wore your chicken shirt today. I sincerely hope that was well thought out.
Intentionally, yes.
Okay, good. Oh, hold on. It's got the Colonel.
Riding a giant chicken.
I'll have you know my grandfather was a Colonel Sanders, but nobody would have made fun of him for it. They were all terrified of him.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
He didn't have the mustache.
No, but he had a very stern gaze, so yeah, no one was about to laugh it up at that.
Yeah, you mentioned sort of wanting it. Well, you know, we've talked about how it's not stripping as we think about it now, but it also has this relationship with stripping. It has this relationship with drag. What is the drag influence? Like, how is that connected to what y'all are doing nowadays?
I would say so, yeah. It's just very over the top, which is...
And I say the same thing. It's like almost like a caricature. It's very heightened. Whereas I guess like strip club is more, well, it is too actually.
Yeah, it's just kind of a different flavor. Yeah, because like with the strip club, you're very distinctly going for sensuality and very distinctly playing towards the male gaze. Yeah, exactly.
There's not a lot of laughing. There's not a lot of artistry.
Be that in burlesque, because there's definitely a lot of like fucking dirty stripper burlesque, and it's awesome. And there's just like fucking the floor, and you're like, yeah, fuck that floor. But it's not necessarily the same thing. So.
Sure.
More style.
Usually, yeah. Unless you got a really badass strip club stripper. You're sure they're out there.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
But that's
definitely more rhinestones.
That doesn't really, like for strippers, we always talk about like with pole, doing the big impressive tricks, nobody in the club gives a shit about that except the other strippers.
Yeah.
Dudes are like, that's a really impressive inversion you're doing, but I can't see your tits.
Like if you could
it's spread that. If I could see more vagina, that would be so it's kind of cross purposes with performing in a way that the dudes at strip clubs want to see what they want to see, and it's going to hurt you financially if you don't provide that. And like anything else, it's a job.
So it's to an extent an art form, but you kind of have to stop at a certain point to maintain your business. Whereas with burlesque, you can just go all out and have a good time.
If you can think it up, you can probably put it on stage. Some of the shit we've done on the stage, the things I've been paid to do, and that's that sounds way dirtier than it is. But I mean more from the ridiculous side of things. Like, yes, I did just run around in a Muppet costume with furry pasties doing this and got paid for it.
I remember that shit.
I think it's happened more than once because that happened again for New Year's.
Oh, good.
So there's something about keeping the art and the tease in striptease instead of just stripping.
Yeah.
So is it then for y'all a sexual expression, a creative expression? I mean, they're not mutually exclusive, I'm sure.
Yeah, all of the above.
I'd say definitely both, but creative for sure for me.
I say both. Like the ones that are more like sexual based are the ones people like, oh my god, and I'm like, why thank you. And are just fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's gonna be sexy and sometimes I'm Mary Berry
It's
from
goofy and
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yeah, like my Shia LaBeouf one is definitely not about sexy. It's entirely about creepy. It's like basically, so for me,
it's based on the life and times of Shia LaBeouf.
I really like to fuck with people. So for me, it's about how do I take this song that I think is hilarious, bring in every Shia LaBeouf face I probably can, and both sexually arouse my audience while also completely creeping them out. And that's the Shia LaBeouf act.
And then they will not sleep for 2 weeks.
Which I'm okay with. Well, it's the multiple masks, I think, that drive that one home.
If no one leaves the show feeling uncomfortable about themselves,
we haven't done a job.
Like I liked it, but Shia LaBeouf face. I feel like the Shia LaBeouf I did.
The worst thing you can do if I'm doing an act is if somebody in the front looks uncomfortable. I'm like a horse, and the way a horse is like, oh, you're scared, I'm gonna fuck with you. I do the same thing. I'm like,
just
oh,
straight eye contact.
Yeah, I fuck the shit out of you for this entire act until you stop looking so scared and actually have fun.
So, do you find that it's breaking down barriers, and you like to, we deal a lot with stereotypes and a lot with people who are having trouble coming to terms with the reality of sex in culture and sexuality. Do you find that part of the thrill is to basically put it in their faces and be like, yeah, that's right, bitches, I'm here.
For sure, yeah.
This chicken's motherfucking sexy.
Yeah.
Yep. And here's what I'm doing for it.
Well, and as a performer of size, that's a big part of it, because people don't like fat people, much less fat people that are confident about anything, especially their body. So it's a whole lot of that. It's like, not only am I confident about it, look at the tricks my tits can do. Yeah.
Can you put that on a CV? Like, how does that translate to the rest of life?
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah. I mean, it's Austin. In my muggle life,
That's true.
yeah, I work for some well-respected organizations, and they know what I do. So they're just like, okay. You know, I think in their mind, they're just like, oh, you're a dancer. And I'm like, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely going to be a big question is, you know, are there people in your lives, family, bosses, whatever, that look down on you or try to make you feel ashamed for expressing yourselves in these ways?
Oddly, no. Yeah. My mom is a little too enthusiastic. I'm really honest, because I don't think my mom sees some of it for what it is. And I have one act that it's probably one of the more sexual acts I've got, but she's like, look at this costume! And then we show it to her neighbors, and they're like, oh. And I'm like, stop showing that one. Oh, but it's so elegant. I'm like, that's part of it.
Look at all the effort my daughter put into this. Look at her art.
Let her go. And they're like, oh.
Look at her crotch, it's so sparkly. But I think that is how a lot of times family will deal with it if they're uncomfortable with the sexuality of it. Because, like, well, my parents are dead, so they don't care. But my aunt, sorry, I told you I like to make people uncomfortable. My aunt, though, she's supportive of it, but she's never been to a show. So for her, it's like, I got you this hat. It seems like a burlesque thing. And she wants to be a stage mom. She even gave herself a name. Yeah, it's Madame Lavandra. What's that cleaner? Starts with an F or whatever. Fabulosa, yeah. It's her favorite cleaner, so she decided that was her stage name. But yeah, so for her, like, that's how she supports it. Yeah.
That's cute.
I think I would never want my mom in an audience. My mom is really. No, hi mom. I'm letting you know right now. I don't want you to come my shit up. But it's like this one I want to apply to in England, and it's in like the little weird town I sort of grew up around, which is like the least burlesque place I can think of. But apparently it's got a huge burlesque festival. And Dusty, my husband, was like, "Yeah, but then your mom will come watch." I was like, and on the one hand, yes, dance in Hampton Bridge. On the other hand, mom would be like,
choices. And so have you guys dealt with anything related to jobs or family in a negative way?
I keep them separate. Still in sort of a burlesque closet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, mine. My family. I was before this. I was a satanic go-go dancer for a number of years.
Ooh.
So I did that. And my mom thought it was the most precious thing ever. I'm a supervisor in one of the hospitals, and so my employees, if they friend me on Facebook, I'm like, just so you know, you're going to see some poll pictures. I try and keep the explicit stuff on my performer page. But for my first show with the Widows, I actually had a number of my employees came, and I said, that's fine with me, I don't mind, but please know you're going to see me doing some explicit things, you're going to see my boobs, and when I come back next week, I'm still your supervisor. I'm comfortable with this if y'all are comfortable with this, and it turns out it's been fine.
they're really good
That's
audience.
liberating.
Yeah.
Or, oh God, one of them was in the front row with his boyfriend. They got super drunk. Oh my God, it was the cutest thing. He's loud normally, but oh my God.
Yeah.
If you needed an affirming moment on stage, just look to him and was like,
It was so great. So Michael, if you're watching this, thanks. That was great.
Yeah, I think my veterinarian was at the last show.
I think it's really encouraging to hear that, just the reality that, I think I would be terrified of how people would react, how people would respond. I mean, I'm, obviously in a pretty sex positive field, but I think a lot of folks would be really, really scared to face their parents, to face their bosses and things. So, obviously y'all's stories aren't the only ones, but I think it's really beautiful, and I'm glad to be sharing yours to hear that, there is hope for people who are maybe nervous or maybe wanting to get over that hump. is there any advice, anything that you would say to somebody who might be watching this who has like bookmarked the Academy of Burlesque page and has been wanting to sign up but hasn't been able to get over that hump?
Well, I think it's just a matter of it takes time, too. Like, I will say my brother, when I first started doing burlesque, he was just like, what? Why? Don't do that. What's wrong with you? And now that we're 10 years in, and I'm like, hey, Jeff, look at all the things I've won. And now he's like, now he actually takes it seriously.
Uh-huh.
And I was performing at what is considered the Super Bowl of Burlesque in Vegas this last year, where my brother lives. And all of a sudden he was like, oh, this is legit. Okay, like he was really supportive. Like, he's not going to come to the show. He's not that supportive. But I always approach it with the thing of like, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you don't like it, you don't have to like it. Don't look.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually your family goes, oh, yeah, okay. You as a part of our life and things that are important to you are important to us. And it's more important than what makes us uncomfortable. And they get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And that said, though, I don't think there's any shame or any problem if you have people in your life that are not going to be receptive to it. You know, some people maybe who grew up with very conservative families, etc. I think it's okay and it's valid to keep that part of yourself separate.
For sure.
That you don't necessarily have to share it to be successful at it.
No.
That if you want to keep that as your private thing with just your community, that's totally fine too. It's not a failure. It's not an admission that anything is wrong with it. It just means that there are people in your life that it wouldn't be healthy for you to share it with, and that's totally fine too.
Mm-hmm.
And I find when you join a different community that it becomes like a second family.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't necessarily need to have the validation of the first family coming in and totally, seeing everything, because you're allowed to have your own little...
I think that's the one thing that's harder than now is like boundaries. Because I like to set my boundaries. My mom does not believe in boundaries. As a concept, she believes them for her, but for anything else, there's not. I'm like, I don't want to share this. Oh, it's okay, I don't mind. I'm like, yeah, no, you don't. I don't. So I will try and I try to keep some things separate, just because I don't feel terribly comfortable sharing. Like if I'm doing Alice in Wonderland, which is like I'm just gonna play around with like a giant caterpillar, I'm like, that's fine. But some of them are more personal to me, and it's a part. You know, there's some things you don't really want to share with your parents, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm like.
Well, I think like the movie Burlesque, this is where it actually helped. So a lot of people in the burlesque community, they're like, fuck that movie, because the reality is that movie has like 4 minutes of actual burlesque in it. But it was something that was like commercially friendly enough that people who don't want to admit what burlesque actually is, i.e. family members or things like that, in their mind, oh, it's like the movie Burlesque, and you're just like,
sure,
okay, sure,
fine.
If it helps them open the door, then if that helps you, okay, we'll take it.
That movie gave me the sluttiest I've ever been in a job interview. So it was like they were doing a charity thing, and they said they wanted a burlesque performer, and someone said, oh, you should talk to my friend. So they called me, and they were talking, and I'm like getting this vibe that what they really wanted was maybe not burlesque, and I was like, so do you want me to take my clothes off? And they're like, oh God, no. And I'm like, okay, I mean, and then like, and she was like, going, she's like, no, but I want like burlesque, like old school burlesque. And I'm like, still stripping. No, but like, the old stuff, the print, like still stripping.
Yeah,
and she's like, well, why don't you tell me what burlesque means to you? And I'm like, am I gonna have to tell someone who's trying to hire me?
Yeah.
It literally means I'm gonna take my clothes off, or it's not. And I was like, it's definitely. She's like, well, if it involves stripping for you, that's fine. I'm like, no.
Did you want like a vaudeville tap dance here? Like, what are you looking for?
They wanted a go-go dancer that looked like dressed like when they go-go dancing in Dita Von Teese's.
They want cabaret is what they want. Because cabaret is kind of like a lot of the glam and the vaudeville side of burlesque, but without the stripping. So the movie Burlesque is 95% cabaret with a hint of actual burlesque in it.
It's like LaCroix.
And the movie Cabaret actually has some decent stripping, so it's very confusing.
Fuck semantics, someone get naked. And go down.
That's our new tagline.
You're like, no, I mean fuck semantics. Yeah.
That could be a whole show.
I know, it could be.
Let's do a linguistics show.
Yes.
Fuck dash
Savannah.
and
So that was part of our conversation. It does not end there, but coming back to you guys, looking back on that, what do you think? Because I know that it's weird watching yourself back on a conversation that you had. But did you guys have anything that you wanted to add to that conversation that you didn't add at the time?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I felt like we talked an awful lot.
Hey, I mean, it was a good time. Y'all are
was.
a very easy interview. So thank you for being so open with us. Yeah, it does make me wonder though if there's anything that we missed out on, anything that you wanted to interject while we have a moment here.
This is a total side tangent, but I was remembering Ginger Snap's Shia LaBeouf act. I don't think she does a good enough encompassing just how horrifying those masks are, yet just how hilarious it is. I lit up when I saw that act because if you've ever seen that little YouTube show, or not show, the video of Shia LaBeouf with the choir and all of that, it was a very good homage to that.
It was kind of like if Buffalo Bill had skinned Shia LaBeouf and then put him on with a dress.
And ask the question, would anybody notice? Which, I mean, that really gets at the heart of what to me was the most interesting part of meeting y'all and having these conversations about how burlesque is very sexy, it is very sexual, but it's also weird and goofy and funny and silly.
Artistic.
Creative and artistic. I know, one question that's come up for a lot of folks is, what is the process for coming up with some of these things?
I would say you come up with a concept. For me, it's generally a character. Who would be, what would be funny if we found this person taking their clothes off?
Such as Colonel Sanders.
Such as Colonel Sanders, the Count from Sesame Street, Tim the Tool. Yeah, different characters.
Tim the Toolman.
And then here comes the fun part. Why are they taking their clothes off? At least this is from a character-driven perspective. There are different types of burlesque that are not character-driven, and that's probably, I'd say, the majority of it. But when, after that, then you figure out music, then you figure out choreography, you figure out costuming, and you put it together and you do it often at home in your living room or in a mirror or something like that, or an office or a studio if you're lucky, and you look at it and go, okay, I need to change this. And then you repeat those steps 5, 6, 30 times, and then you've got a great act, and then you do it.
Like a novel.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes. There's
A very
lot of
strippy novel.
killing your darlings. Like I remember one where I spent so much time in this one whole part of the act, and I was like, this is too long and it doesn't need to be here, but it's my favorite part, but it doesn't make sense and it has to die.
Oh, that's
was
the
hard.
worst.
I mean, any creative process, it's deleting that chapter or getting rid of that stanza or,
Right.
making room for the way it's supposed to be.
Killing Sirius Black.
Yeah.
No.
No. Did that
Not okay?
Not okay.
Not
Too
okay.
soon. Too soon.
So I was wondering, Hans, you had said that you are still kind of in the burlesque closet, as it were. And many of our viewers deal with being in the, or coming out of the atheist closet, the LGBT closet. Can you foresee yourself coming out of the burlesque closet at some point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's kind of separated into different groups. Family being one, and then the other one being work. They both are fraught with two very different groups of peril.
Right.
One would assume maybe it's a phase or some sort of midlife crisis or whatever they want to call it, and would be concerned about how it might affect my professional life and all of that. And then the other one is an HR problem. that maybe they don't need to find out about. That said, I do put one of my burlesque sort of side jobs on my CV and resume for BurleyCon, where I'm one of their operations managers.
Okay, of course.
It's just that they don't necessarily Google what BurleyCon means. They think it's some sort of muscle competition or something like that. And
Or even if they knew what it was, you were in an operations position, not necessarily, you don't put on their performer.
exactly. But it actually came up at work a couple of weeks ago. I had just come back from BurleyCon, and I said I came back from my vacation. I was really refreshed, and my boss asked, "So what were you doing up in Seattle?" And I said, "I was at a burlesque convention." And I said, "I was on my resume, so you can't, no takesies backsies now."
Right?
And I wasn't expecting my boss to then immediately in the meeting Google BurleyCon and kind of try to get a feel for what it was. But I described it and it went well. There were no problems. She was just like, I wouldn't even really know what burlesque is, which is something that a lot of people don't realize, or they think of the movie with Cher. And that's probably best, depending on really what the nature of the conversation is. That said, she does now know what burlesque is. I don't necessarily tell everyone about it, but at least from my perspective, I don't want to necessarily kind of like say, "Oh, hey, everyone, I take my clothes off," and I don't want to come off as some sort of, predator or something like that. So I have to be careful about how I come across. As for my family, I think they probably suspect or know more than they let on, but they just don't necessarily come out about it.
What a strange open secret.
It is. Their son, the stripper, but I have a great time. It's done a lot to fulfill me. And if they ever ask me about it, I'll be honest about it, open about it. And if it ever comes up or it's something that, it is something that I'm very proud of.
Sure.
How far I've come, how far I've gone along. And it's something that I never would have thought I would have done. And my friends who have followed me along this journey really notice a change in me. So I know my parents have noticed it. And
A positive change?
Oh, absolutely a
good.
positive change.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I would think that it would not be a positive change, but just so the audience knows, it's a
Good
positive
call.
change.
Good call, yes.
I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Once you've been on stage in front of a few hundred people and got pretty naked.
Most your clothes off.
Yeah.
Hard to
It's
go
easy
back
to
to
be
just
fairly
life is normal.
confident about other things.
Yeah.
Nothing else is that scary or, I guess, vulnerable, really. So,
Which is funny you say that, because I used to be a cam girl, and so I am more comfortable and confident in front of the camera than I am behind the camera or outside in life. And so I can totally relate to that kind of dynamic of once you're in front of people and you've taken your clothes off and you've done some interesting stuff. Yep.
well, a lot of it as well is how you interplay with like an audience. So I used to hate making eye contact with people. Hated it. Like my friends would.
You're not like Ginger, like staring people down and
No, I mean,
aggressively making them uncomfortable.
It was
On
actually
purpose.
something my friends would make me do just to fuck with me for their own amusement. Scarlet Fury, shout out to her. But like after a while, like you get, when you're on the stage, there's less surprises for the most part. Like you're in control of the situation for however long you're on stage. So it's easier to be, more aggressive if you need to be or whatever else. But
Confident, assertive.
yeah, and I now no longer just look at people's foreheads, which is for those who don't like making eye contact. If you look at the eyebrows, nobody knows you're not looking at them.
Well, we've got a couple of callers on the line,
do.
and we have a few lines still open, so I'd love to get to that. But I wanted to ask y'all, just looking at the chat and kind of going back over what we talked about, being here in Austin, I take it for granted that anybody has been to, if they're not like regular burlesque goers and viewers, they are aware of it. They've at least seen it once or twice, but I'm
They've
realizing
heard
that's...
the word and have an idea.
Yeah, I'm realizing that may not necessarily be true for everybody. And so we've talked about what burlesque is, what it isn't, but I mean, if you and your partner are wondering how to spend a Friday night and you see, oh, there's a burlesque show coming up, what should they expect? What's that experience like? I mean, are we bringing the kids? Are we, expecting an auditorium?
It would.
Kids.
Don't bring the kids.
Maybe not on the kids. That's
step
kind of
one.
what I figured. Let's get that out in the open.
Step 1, don't bring the kids. Unless they're adult kids and you have a very comfortable familial relationship.
Or that could be the very beginning of the birds and the bees talk.
It's true.
I've seen a Birds and the Bees act.
Hey,
That's one way to get it out.
That's
Hey.
way better than the way it was introduced to me. So,
No
you know what? It could be
kidding.
a lot worse.
So, did you want to take a call?
Yeah, we can absolutely jump on the phones.
All right. We have John in Chicago. John, you are on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is John Heffley.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question for the guest. Can you say her name because I'm not so good with pronunciations?
Would you like to introduce yourself again?
Miss O'Kist.
Okay, Miss Okis. Yeah, again, I'm John Heffley.
All right, moving on. Some technical difficulties,
all right.
fair enough.
Sorry, John.
Well, if you can't, call back. We do have one more caller. So please, if you are interested in calling in, please, 512-686-0279. Also, if you are not in the U.S. and you are worried about it costing you money to call, you can go to the Atheist Experience webpage and click on the Call the Show button, and it will bring you directly to us as well. So I did see that as a concern in the chat. Pine Snake, you are on the air. Hello.
Hi, Megan, Christy, Miss O'Kist, and Hans. How are you doing?
Howdy.
Good, thank you.
Good to hear
Awesome
from you.
to hear. You too. Yeah, I was wondering from your guests if they have to do any additional exercise or whether it's just the dancing that keeps them fit and trimmed enough to carry on with the routines.
Yeah, I mean, these are incredibly acrobatic and, exerting operations y'all are putting on.
That is true. I personally, I do pole dancing and aerials. So I do lyra and pole dancing, which is a remarkably good workout. I've been injured, so I haven't been in as much as I would like to. So I'm getting back into that. But if you want upper body strength, pole dancing, it's incredible.
I did lyra as well, and I had an act where I did a bit of Russian dancing, and my quads still hate me for it. Yeah.
My quads hate you for it, just watching it. I was like, no.
So I guess the answer to that is yes, there is there's an alternate workout regimen other than just the dancing.
I mean, some people, because burlesque is very open to different body types, like some people, I guess, don't do an awful lot of working out. Some people are serious gym bunnies. I know some people who spend a lot of time lifting weights and doing cardio and running long distances that I find too boring to contemplate. I don't run. But I think a lot of it depends on what it is that makes you feel confident to get on stage. I've been okay. I've got on stage at my heaviest. I've got on stage at my most buff. And it's like, you're going to get the me you're going to get.
And do you guys ever get winded? Like you find yourself after a show, you just go backstage and you're like, oh my God.
Yes.
I can't.
I can't think of an act I haven't been that way.
Oh, okay.
I've got some which I know going in are going to suck till I get off the stage because they are
Sorry, this is a sex show.
It is, and that too. No.
Is there ever like a volleyball towel girl that has to like go out after between performances and like
Yes.
buff
Yes.
the floor? There's a lot of sweat flying around.
Yeah, stage. I remember at a Black Widow show that's happened. That wasn't just because there was syrup on the floor.
There's always something on the floor.
Syrup?
Maple.
Right. Naturally.
Like Canadian gold?
Canadian gold. That was not me this time.
I don't know if it was the good stuff, though. It might have been like a...
I think it was pretty cheap. It was high fructose corn syrup.
That's not...
I mean, if you're going to bathe
that's not
in it,
Canadian gold.
Yeah.
No, it
I
didn't
think
smell
our
as good
Canadian-
as Canadian gold would have done.
Our Canadian viewers and Canadian listeners would probably be like, "Are you kidding me? No."
That's fair.
It's something in the realm of Mrs. Butterworth.
Almost
Basically,
certainly.
yeah.
It was an 11 act. There were Eggo waffles involved as well.
Oh, okay. Now I'm hungry.
I feel like the more we talk and the more we explain what burlesque is, the more stunned and confused our viewers must be. I sincerely recommend that you check, the Black Widows out if you're here in town. But I mean, there's incredibly growing and thriving community of burlesque performers all over the country. Look at what's available where you are, because there's some great stuff out there.
Well, with that, would you like to go to our next clip?
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Mark,
We have some really ridiculous shows coming up. Like, things have only gotten weirder. We're actually, we're all going out tonight to the Cage-a-thon?
Like Cage-a-thon.
Oh, yeah, I looked at that.
Nicolas Cage themed burlesque show later this year.
Okay, all right.
Burlesque Uncaged.
All right.
And you know I'm going to make a Nicolas Cage mask to wear because I really want to be creepy as fuck.
And with that mask, yes, I think
You can pull that off, yeah.
Well, this is what I did with my Shia LaBeouf mask. Is I got it printed on fabric and then put it on one of those black Zentai hoods, and then cut out eyes so I could see and just cut a slit in the mouth so I can still stick my tongue out of it. It's really terrifying.
It's very uncanny valley.
It's very, very
Making more of these. Yeah.
Just like, yay, boobs.
Well, even like with some promo stuff, I really like photoshopping other people's heads on top of my topless body. I have a Weird Al one like that.
Yes.
That's probably my favorite.
Facebook
Yeah.
doesn't like it
That's
as much.
still-
Facebook does not like
Not a big fan.
Facebook is not down with Weird Al with boobs, but
We think Weird Al looks
Has that been difficult for y'all in trying to advertise and everything
Yes,
else with
so
the
difficult.
change in terms of
Yeah.
services on Facebook?
yeah.
I make dancewear, and it's not even particularly risque dancewear, but it's activewear, so it's not very voluminous. And the amount of times they're like, have you tried not using sex to sell your product? And I'm like, it's literally just two people wearing sports bras and booty shorts, smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sexy. Maybe if you covered them up more. I'm like, if I covered up my product. Like, why don't you just stop sexualizing everything women do?
Well, yeah, meanwhile, like large companies can have half-naked women all over my feed trying to sell me bras and whatever, and that's fine. But
Or
God forbid we do an ad that
toothpaste or
shows
whatever.
any cleavage, and all of a sudden they won't run it.
Well, and along those lines, I was actually just thinking the idea of men versus women undressing on the internet is very, I imagine you could take a picture, swap somebody's face out with your body and be fine.
Oh, totally.
But any woman, it's like, oh, are you sure you don't want it? Because that kind of breaks some of our rules.
Right. It's like when male performers don't wear pasties. Not everybody cares, and I get it, but I'm like, to go on stage with your nipples out, whereas if I went with my nipples out, someone would lose their alcohol license. I'm like, just put them on, man.
Yeah.
Just equalize that field.
Exactly.
Well,
I'm
it
bored with
point
regular
out the
nipples
absurdity
now.
of it all.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's an occupational hazard I did not anticipate.
Well, yeah, because it's not shiny. I see a regular nipple and I'm like, it'd be better if it was sparkly.
Put a tassel on it or something.
I've tried on a show where they're like, I don't have to wear pasties. I'm like, ooh, and I'm like,
yeah, I wore my
dress
dress
pink. They could sparkle.
Yeah. I like the sparkly nipple hat is just so much more exciting.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not that I'm anti-nipple, it's just I'm really pro-sparkle.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know what makes my boobs look better? Sparkle.
Yep.
That needs to be a tagline. I'm not anti-boob. I'm just pro-sparkle.
Yes.
So I've got lots of sparkles for my boobs.
Well, and you revolutionized the boob harness as well, so that your boobs can be out, but you still have a sparkly cage around them, which is phenomenal.
So you can frame them with the sparkles.
So it's both nudity and clothing at the same time. Best of both worlds.
That is so much of burlesque, yes.
That's burlesque all together then.
Yeah.
And there's science behind why that's attractive too, like why fishnets are attractive. Because it's like, if it's hidden and revealed, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
See that versus that is nudity, and it's a little more interesting. Also sparkle. Like my boobs, which I like.
So sparkly fishnets.
Yes,
But
except
they are not as comfortable as you think.
No.
Are itchy.
Well, and they get caught on things too. I've had some rhinestone fishnets, but those rhinestones just turn into tiny hooks that catch everything else. So they live through like one show, and even just taking them off, they get stuck to each other again. You're like, well, that's done.
But the back seam ones work okay for me.
Yeah, I can't use that in the air. I end up with like rhinestone bruises.
Now, what are the tricks of the trade or the problem? Paid.
Oh God.
Safety underwear.
Safety underwear.
Labia pops are a serious thing.
That's what we're
Like if you go into a Y scale and you're
Yes.
wearing small underwear, a lip is gonna pop out. But what I discovered this with a former member who was having issues with this.
Oh, see, I discovered it with my 8th grade soccer club. That's different. It's different.
Yeah.
Well, so you know kinesiology tape, which is like that stretchy athletic tape.
Mm-hmm.
You can stick that over your labia because it'll still move but keep things in. So there's a lot of taping of things.
A lot of
weird
taping of things.
There's a lot of glue.
Yeah, there's a lot of adhesives.
What's an adhesive? Yeah.
There's this one venue, and someone's like, "Oh my God, there's like a little hole, and you can see in the dressing room from the men's bathroom." I'm like, "And ruin the sexiness."
Yeah.
Like on stage, it's really sexy, but backstage, it's lots of like, "I'm just putting glue on my thighs, so this will stay up," and I'm like, "It's so unhot." Like,
Or
backstage
someone being
is
like,
so-
"Can you see the string? Do I need to cut it?" If they're like have the tampon,
Are my bits staying where they should?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the aftermath for those of us who like really messy acts, like I have a really messy whipped cream act, you have your cake fucking act. Of the, I was an accessory in that act. I was the baker for the Great
Everyone got
Bake Off. And it involved me following her back to the dressing room afterwards and helping scrape the cake out of her butt crack. Like you don't think about that when you think about the glamour of burlesque. Is there's going to be some cake in your nethers.
After Zaptig, I found chocolate in the backstage toilet, and I just know it's like Zaptig.
I don't know what it is, but I know where it came from.
Yeah.
Oh, she was here. She was responsible for all the words. And I think I found a penis on the stage. Everything I've ever heard from a stage kitten were like, we don't expect you to pick that up.
Yeah, it's alright. If it's been in an orifice, we will get it.
And then after it was my thumb that came off afterwards from the act, and they thought that my thumb was the penis and they didn't want to touch it. I'm like, it's okay, that's my thumb, but I'll still go get it. And I'm like, like, how many detached body pieces does this show have? Like, 3. It's got 3 detached body pieces.
Well, we used to have a group act that was a Silence of the Lambs act. So it was real, just kind of creepy and gross, and like the pasties were supposed to look like ripped off nipples, and it was, that was another one where people were just like,
please don't.
Yeah, we did it in San Antonio. That we disturbed that poor audience. It was amazing. We got straight up heckled. It was
really? Oh man.
Yeah, no, it was they did not like it. San Antonio was not as down with the weird. But which actually made it more fun, to be fair.
You get desensitized in Austin because I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and then you'll go to like Fort Worth, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like in Austin, this is considered funny.
Yeah.
Or tame.
Right. Yeah. But and over there they're like,
Yeah, San Antonio, that person just said, it made me uncomfortable. And we're like,
good.
Yeah. You're saying this like it's a problem.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have a favorite show you've done, or is it like just children where you can't pick a favorite?
I think my current favorite is Occult.
Mine too.
Occult was pretty fun.
That one was great.
Yeah.
That one was the one with the various detached body pieces.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
It was a really good crowd too.
It was our first show, and particularly with my background of sort of horror themes and being the Satan's cheerleader, which was my go-go troupe, all of that. Occult was such an amazing theme, like near and dear to my heart, so that I was really excited. That was my debut with the group.
Well, and it was really fun because we could do acts that were more serious and acts that were intentionally 90s melodramatic
right,
and acts that were just plain ridiculous, and they kind of all fit.
Yeah.
The Count is still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I like the Count.
Sorry, there's so much tree sex in my lungs right now.
Yeah.
No. You're in your pants, trees.
Also, get pants, trees.
If we put pants on them, it would keep the tree sex in. I like this idea. We could start a fundraiser. Let's do a GoFundMe.
Well, the Victorians would come up with that, or
I
the
hear
Kellogg
they do that at
family.
zoos in the giraffes enclosure.
That's really big pants.
Yeah.
I just learned a lot about, I
Is
guess,
it only on the
giraffes
back
in
half of
prison
the
now.
giraffe or is it on the floor?
Well, couldn't the giraffe just have like a chastity belt?
I mean,
Or like a dance?
Girastity? No. I don't like it.
Let him hump a tree.
I have no concept of what a giraffe dick even looks like.
I mean, it's way up.
And now the weirdest Google of today.
Totally looking at it.
So I was wondering, for each of you, what is your favorite part of burlesque? Whether it's a certain act or whether it's just being able to be out there and be free with yourself. What's your favorite aspect?
I think the creativity for me is my favorite because it's really just like, I thought up this thing. I was real fucking high the other day and I thought this was funny. And then when I sober, it was still funny. I'm gonna do it.
So it's writing and choreographing and finding costumes.
Yeah,
and
just
it's
putting the
everything
whole
that
thing together.
creating it. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're birthing this thing that to you, whether it's something serious, because I think what's funny is like as much as I do ridiculous acts, my more serious ones are probably better known.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's something like that or something that's just completely fucking silly, there's an audience for it.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody appreciates it. And you get to make it whatever you want it to be. There are no constraints.
Yeah, I think costumes is my favorite part. And I make clothing, and like if you're gonna wear it out on the street, you know, I mean, you can wear whatever you want, but sometimes it's impractical. But for burlesque, I'm like, all right, I got 30 yards of satin.
Yeah, practicality for burlesque.
You can go as big as you want. I got one costume that's so heavy, and it wasn't even a cheap hanger. It straightened the hanger. I was like, holy shit! And that one weighs like 15 pounds, and it's so worth it.
Yeah.
But I like that because you can go fucking huge in burlesque.
Yeah. There's no such thing as too big, unless it can't physically fit in the venue.
And that can be literally a problem.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Happened.
Yeah.
The aerial
North
water
Door's
frame.
got a high roof but a small stage.
Yeah.
I have brought acts with costumes too big for a stage too small. I'm like, yeah, I can do this, and then I get that I'm like,
Yeah.
my I'm like literally just twirling around in place because the stage is just covered in costume, and I'm like.
I've had a lot of issues with my Lucy act. That headdress doesn't physically fit in spaces.
Yeah.
For me, I would say it's creating something within sort of the framework or formula of burlesque and making something that is so ridiculous that I can make people do a spit take or facepalm. If I've done that, I have an act. If I don't at least get a giggle, now I need a new idea.
I think mine is coming up with something that's dear to me in some way, or something that connects with me, whether it's, you know, a song I liked in high school or a concept or a character, and putting it forth and having somebody respond to it. Like at a cult, I did an act that was 1980s Satanic Panic themed, and I did Mr. Crowley. And in the beginning, as I'm starting this ritual, this group of like 15 bachelors at a bachelor party started screaming along with it. And I never would have expected those people, it was their first burlesque show, I never would have expected them to like connect with this random, not that attractive, kind of weird ass act where I conjured a devil, but they did, and it was just such a moment of connection, and that happens over and over. So,
Taking your weird hobby or fascination and putting it on stage in a way that other people can
like
get in on it.
we say a lot, you'll put something random in your act that somebody out there is going to get the reference. Like mine was drawing a pentagram on my hand like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, when he went to court and was convicted. By God, there was a person in the audience who was like, oh yeah, I recognize that image. So, putting yourself forth and connecting with other people is really rewarding.
Especially in connecting in the non-standard, non-normal, everyday ways.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think that's a really interesting thing too, because there's always like little Easter eggs that are personal to us, so whether it be in our acts or even a name, and then somebody randomly will get it, like 1 in 40 people. You know, even like my name, like everyone's like, oh, like the cookie. I'm like, not the cookie. No. Every now and then someone's like, oh, like the werewolf movie. I'm like, yes. But yeah, like stuff like that, because it's all stuff you made, and there's always somebody out there who's gonna get something different from that act or understand some piece of it someone else doesn't.
I think it's like the best part. You get the really personal acts, because some of them, like they're just like, this is fun. You're gonna have fun. So I'm like, this is so important to me
Yeah.
on like an almost spiritual level. And then when you put it on the stage and someone's like, this is everything. I'm like,
Yes. Making people cry makes me so happy.
Yes.
I'm like, am I sadistic or I don't know. But yeah, when I do a more serious act and someone's like, I cried, and I'm like,
Or
yeah.
like unexpectedly, like you wouldn't think your Lucy routine would necessarily be super meaningful, but I think I mentioned this to you when you first did it. My late mother, was a huge Lucy fan. And so seeing you do that, even though it's a goofy, funny, really fun act, was also emotional and meaningful to me in a way that maybe it wouldn't be to most people.
Yeah.
And so that one is one of your most meaningful acts in a way that's, that's very personal to me.
Well, and I never really talked about it, but it actually is one of my most meaningful acts to me as well, because my mom was who introduced us to Lucy. It was always like a big thing we did with my mom on the weekends, as we'd all watch Lucy together. So yeah.
So, and that's something, that you wouldn't necessarily think of for, people who don't have that experience. So,
So now I have a really serious question.
I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Are there any moves that you can teach us today?
I can teach you a solid shimmy.
We do about a 15-second chair dance at the beginning of our show, and I can't even make that look decent for that long.
like a lap dance?
No! Right?
Yeah, you got it. So the common mistake I see with shimmy is people just go from the shoulders, and it gets like really violent and difficult to maintain. You want to actually, there's a lot of isolations in burlesque. You want to be able to just rotate your rib cage. So it's lift. You have moves. Yeah.
Right.
So
On it.
This works on any. You
It
don't
does
have to
work.
have
Right.
moves. Yeah. So that's right where I used to be in my class.
Yeah.
So you have a string in the center of your chest, and that pulls it up to the ceiling so that your ribs open. So I'm creating a gap here. If this is my pelvis, this is my rib cage. It's opening like this. So I'm up here, and I'm going to rotate my rib cage like this. So your abs are getting in on this. There's a lot of abs. So we're starting slow.
slow.
Rotating from the abs. Bring it a little faster. Let the quake happen. Lift your chest. Lift your chest. There you go. Lift it. Yes, better. Yes. If your abs are getting sore, you're doing it right. And the nice thing is this is very sustainable shimmy.
Oh, okay.
That's
Good
going for
news.
a really long time. Yeah.
Great when your music runs out.
Yeah.
I can keep doing this. I've got 15 seconds. Got it.
That's actually one of my shticks now. Is just twirl forever. Look at the fake watch. Keep going. But you can also do one from here. But that's more of a lift pop.
That one hurts my back.
But it's easier to get the solid tassel twirl with that one because it's basically like jumping.
I got some dudes, a whole bunch of dudes doing tassel twirls once because I did like a burlesque class at an adult summer camp, and the guys showed up for it too because I think they thought they'd just like watch their partner, and I was like, all right, everyone get up, and they were like, and we're like, me too, and we're like, oh yeah, I love tassels.
Yeah.
There was like one show where they had like a tassel twirl off, and when the people came back to stick them on, me and Zenith were backstage, and no, but the first group didn't get any prep. We're like, oh, dude, stay on, like bounce. I'm like, okay, like, put your hands up. I'm like,
yeah,
go the other way now. And they're like, and then went out and they all killed it. There are babies.
Yeah, there are definitely different levels to tassel twirling, from easy ways to get twirls going to the more complicated. So, yeah.
Only this will do the complicated ones.
Almost get it through a pec twerk, but it's not a big enough pec twerk. Yeah.
I don't know, that's pretty Terry Crews.
I've actually been compared to him because I like to twerk everything that is twerkable.
I mean, when I look at you and then I think about a cruise, like
you guys, I love
right next to each
Terry Crews
other.
so much. Have you ever seen Ultimate Beastmaster on Netflix?
No.
It's so good. It's like American Ninja Warrior, but more fun. And Terry Crews is one of the hosts in the first season. So the first season is my favorite, and he's hilarious. And the way he says blood, because they have when they fall in the water, it's supposed to be the beast's blood, and he always goes, and he goes into the blood. And it's amazing. Yeah, because you have Terry Crews and people falling over. It's brilliant.
Okay. Well,
Two of my favorite things.
I love people falling over. They just turn into floppy little rag dolls.
Yeah, I don't feel guilt about it anymore. I
think it's hilarious.
And we're back to the fainting goats.
Yeah.
Well, I think my very last question was, we talked a little bit about family support and, some of the shame, but also the connections that makes. I'm wondering about partners, people you've dated or married. Were there jealousy or awkwardness?
You start.
Have you ever dated somebody you met at a show, or what's that like?
I've actually been married for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
My husband is a professional sideshow performer and has been since we met. His stage name is the Lizard Man. So, he's been a performer as longer than I have. So he's always supported me. I do not accept his feedback.
So marriage.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So we almost never work together. It just isn't no.
Better have a marriage and not a
yeah, exactly. So basically, for my whole performing life, I've been involved with somebody who is a performer, and he can empathize with it, like, oh, that gig sucked, or people were difficult to work with, or the audience was really lame, or what have you. So that's my experience is not typical.
Not really, no.
I refuse to date anyone who has a problem with it, and it's just always been that way. Like, if you don't like it, we're not dating. I don't ask permission. But my boyfriend now, we just had our 3rd anniversary, and he is super into it. My rule when we started dating was that he could not come and see one of my shows until we'd actually gone out. Because I didn't performer Ginger is different than actual Wendy the person.
Mm-hmm.
These are different people. But I think at least, the first year we were together, he insisted on going to absolutely every single performance I did. He was at every single one. And he still comes to 90% of the shows. He's always going to be in the front row to VIP table.
Yep.
But finally I'm like, Joe, sweetie, you do not have to come to every single show. There are shows I don't even want to be at that I'm going to. So you certainly don't need to be there. So it's relaxed a little bit. He is so supportive, and I wouldn't have been able to grow as much in my career as I have over the past couple years if it weren't for Joe being so supportive of it himself. Not to mention more financially supportive when I'm like, rent money, oops, I have yeah.
Dusty's the same.
Yeah.
He's very he helps me load all my crap in, and he loads all my crap out, and I think he's been at all my shows. The only thing that got weird was his work. Because he has a very conservative job, and I guess I posted some stuff on my Muggle Facebook, and it was just some pole dancing thing, and one of his co-workers was like, "So, your wife's fit." And
so creepy.
And I was like, whoa. I was talking, and I was like, and blocking everybody who could possibly work with Dusty on any social media. And sometimes, when I meet his new coworkers, sometimes oh, do you have a Facebook or an Instagram? And I'm like, yes. But maybe not. One couple, they were very mom and very sweet, very covered with clothes. And this one woman was very excited about the things I make. And I'm like, you can follow me, but you will see my butt a lot. So, with his coworkers, sometimes. Yeah, I think, and when we did that one show at the Kids Museum.
Oh, yes.
And one of his co-workers was there, and he kind of disappeared.
Okay, all right. So this is after hours.
I was worried.
That was a really late night one, but someone he worked with was there, and he kind of disappeared, and I was like, yeah, I can see that. That's fine.
I think did he go before we took off our clothes to Typo Negative or after?
I have no idea.
Oh boy. All right.
I know. Possibly seen that now, but.
I do have a funny story. For my girlfriend, who I've been with for 4 years now, my second show, I was still doing student showcases, and I was doing a very sort of weird German party boy number, complete with lederhosen and a glass beer boot.
Oh, that kind of German boy.
Yes.
That's not where my brain went.
So,
this time, I was like, oh my.
I had been dating her for about a month at this point, and I was like, you know what, she's gonna have to go to the show because this is the ultimate shit test. I mean, she doesn't like it. Yeah.
Exclusionary criteria.
Little did I know that my instructor had told her to sit in the front row.
No!
And at least I was like, well, at least I've got a friendly face. So I'm doing this act, and I have a bit where I pull a string of sausage out of my trousers, and I lay them on someone in the front row's desk. Naturally, I chose her. And then I give her a thing of mustard to enjoy the sausage with, And she loved it. It worked. It was great. She accidentally stole the leggings that I used to make the sausage at Target for me, and she didn't know what it was for, but she knew it was some weird burlesque thing. And it was in the cart, and it just didn't get scanned, and she walked out, she's like, that was $1, whatever, but yeah. So that's how she says that she stole the leggings of children for my boyfriend to turn into sausage so that he could strip with them and put them on my table.
That's what makes burlesque great.
That's what makes it special.
Yeah.
That thing right there.
Your wedding.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have to be committed to date someone in burlesque because the burlesque husbands and wives, those are things. Like you become part of it. You're the person who you're like, I forgot this underwear and I need you to get it. The number of times I've actually had to call Joe and be like, I need you to bring me the turkey costume. More than you would think.
I forgot my rigging one time, and it's like, is it still attached to your pole? It is, but you can do this.
Yeah. Like you have to FaceTime and be like, all right, go into my office. My office is really just a room that is exploded with costumes. So is hers. And like, go into there. Show the camera around. Okay, stop. Go to that corner. Dig under this pile. Get the thing. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Find Hans. You can find anything.
Yeah.
My studio is just a mountain of crap up sometimes. And he's like, I can't find my clamps. He's like, these? I was like, you've never been on you don't know my pile on the floor system. And yet, somehow you knew under which pile they were. Well done.
It only works in burlesque. If I'm trying to find anything that I need that's not glittery or costume related, no. I have an Indian perception -1 specifically because of that. Yeah.
Only like 50%.
Oh, that was so nerdy. I loved it. Yeah.
It's bad. It also applies to my D&D games.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you find yourselves, I mean, I know we're in Austin, so you might have to go do a show outside of Austin for it to become a serious issue, but do you guys ever face any protests from, not like, picketing or anything, but like people who protest what you do for religious reasons?
I found it online, not in person. I definitely found blog posts about myself.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but that was specifically after my Legislate This shows. I produced a series of shows called Legislate This, which are fundraisers for Planned Parenthood, and they're burlesque show fundraisers. And invariably
That is awesome.
Thanks!
Yes.
Well, invariably there will be some, like, crusty old lady who's, like, thumping her Bible in her blog, her and her 2 cousins read. And it was, about how evil I am. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was excited. Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to add this to my clips on my website.
And also, this person thinks I'm bringing about Satan.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag, but
Yeah.
she said I'm good.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I mean, you get, like, random trolls here and there, but nothing
Nothing
that serious. Yeah.
Wait, I was at Yelp review for, it was one of the ones in Dallas someone did, like, there were men, and they had their nutsacks, and you couldn't quite see them.
There were men and they had nuts.
Generally, I try to make sure that they can't quite see them.
Yeah.
They were very upset.
I bring mine with me everywhere I go, though.
This guy was very upset. Oh, that's it, just slapping their balls together.
They try to keep that.
Do you mean the balls were hitting each other in one
Like a Newton's cradle?
They were very passionate about calls, but they weren't clear.
I feel like we should just do a whole show that's about now all the widows teach you physics, but it's all yeah.
Like this little
that would be so
toys,
awesome.
just
Yeah.
between your legs and bounce.
Yeah.
Like an audience participation game. You could win serious prizes.
A basket full of dildos.
I think we could do a basket full of
And now we'll teach you about inertia.
Yeah.
Bring your kids, learn science.
Every now and then, though, a kid does show up at a show, and it's always kind of, I mean, I'm just kind of like, the way I explain it to them, and if someone's like, I'm going to bring a child, I'm like, if you're comfortable watching Rocky Horror with your kid and having a conversation with them, then it's fine. Because, like, honestly, I just see this as people positively embracing their sexuality. Some parents, though, are not ready to have that discussion. But every now and then children do show up, including children of performers, and they've had this discussion, and it's fine. Yeah. I'm just like, it's just some biology. It's biology doing funny things.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you've seen boobs before.
Yeah. You're aware of what these are.
The more secret you make it, the more
Taboo and it's
Yeah.
like they're just boobs. But I also grew up in another country where everyone's just like, it's boobs.
Yeah.
that's definitely not the case here.
No,
Yeah.
it's very strange and I don't get it.
Well, in my family, it was kind of like that. It's just boobs, at least with my mom. Like, my mom did show me weird movies when I was 13, and I remember just being like, We watched the first Beauty musical, and then we also watched Rocky Horror. And I was just like, my mom is so fucking weird. Cut to 5 years later, I was running my own cast.
Nice. So.
Still working on it.
Yeah, no, I'm not even going to try because I will just embarrass myself.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
It would take a lot of like time and energy and work to get to a point where I feel comfortable doing it in front of a camera, which is why I used to do it in front of a camera.
Right, naturally.
So, you know, you guys were talking about some of the interesting acts that you do. And we would be willing to lend you our flying spaghetti monster for an act if you want it.
I mean,
We do.
I can't vouch that it won't come back glittered in some way.
No, it will.
Yeah.
Everything we loan you is
Okay.
going to come back with glitter.
Generally, yes.
Okay.
If Ginger's
Occupational
involved,
hazard.
it's-
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll have to talk to Mark about that, but I think that might be okay.
Your flying spaghetti monster's got a little pizzazz.
That indeed.
So
And a shimmy.
we actually have a caller, and I'm thinking we could go ahead and take this call. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, let's see what Jenna's got to say.
Hey, Jenna, you're on the air.
Hi, y'all.
Howdy.
Howdy.
I am so thankful for y'all because I am a brand new atheist and know about as much about burlesque as Christina Aguilera.
Nice reference. Good. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite shows, and I literally thought that was burlesque until today. I'm curious. I'm interested in pursuing this further. I'm curious how I can start to learn how to start doing it. If there's like a right way or a wrong way, or if there are classes, or like what could I do to learn more about it?
There's no really right way or wrong way, but there are classes.
Hey.
If you Google Austin Academy of Burlesque.
That is correct. The Austin Academy Burlesque.
I always get those words mixed up. But they have regular drop-in classes during the week, and they just started their intensive semester, which is a whole bunch of classes every Sunday. And I would imagine if you're interested in that, they've literally only had one Sunday, and those will be taking up again this weekend. And you can learn everything from different dance steps, types. You can workshop ideas with like different members of the community, some beginners, some more experienced people, and that's a good way to learn a lot. Or volunteering too. If you go to a lot of shows, talk to people, we're always looking for volunteers, and that is how I got started.
You can volunteer at a show?
Yep. We have like stage kittens or people who will help us run raffles and all kinds of things.
Oh, cool.
And the good news for you guys is that Jenna is actually here in Austin.
Yay!
So you might be able to actually get a new stage kitten.
That'd be lovely.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Hans and I and Ginger have a show the February 14th for Valentine's, the Emancipate show that's going to be at the North Door. So if you wanted to come meet some of the community, say hi.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Cool. Thank you. I have another question. I'm curious about where do you find what you wear?
I make all of mine.
Wow. So
That's
That's dedication. I did want to say you look lovely, and I love your outfit.
Thank you. It's like a T-shirt that you don't
I
have
love
to
it
wear
too.
pants
It's so
with.
colorful.
So is there glitter just in every corner of your house
Yes.
then?
I actually date when I'm cleaning my studio. I can date how long it's been since I cleaned a particular area based on the glitter I find. I'll be there. I'm like, this is shimmy, 2015. Must dust more.
Like looking at tree rings, like getting down to the certain colors.
It really is. Like I'll remember every glitter or sequin that belongs to certain costumes, and I was like, oh wow, that was, Aliens. I did an Alien Queen costume for someone.
Oh, right.
I'm still finding black glitter from that, and that was 2015, and I still find glitter from that costume.
I think it was Zaftig.
It was. I made it. It was like a xenomorph tail, and she dressed as Sigourney Weaver. It was wonderful.
It was really good. It was really good.
And do you make your own?
No, I am not that talented.
Not the seamstress?
At all. My sewing skills is mostly sewing snap tape onto pants, shirts, weird vampire capes, whatever it is that I get.
So I'm sorry, snap tape?
Yes.
It's like a
Velcro?
ribbon, but
Yeah.
it has like little press studs on it. Wait, you don't call them press studs here, do you?
Snaps
Little
is what we call them.
snaps.
Yes.
So it's how you take a pair of pants from this to
Yes.
this.
Exactly.
All right, I can see how that would be relevant to the activity.
Mm-hmm. There's a
Harder
certain
than
way.
It looks.
Yeah.
I've tried doing tearaway pants once, and I was like, I got this. I did not. I gave up, and I just decided to just take them off like normal. I was like, I don't understand the physics of tearaway pants.
It's like the exact opposite of my job, where I live in constant irrational fear that my pants will accidentally come off.
Yeah.
You're living in fear that, they won't.
Both,
It's
actually.
happened.
Oh, both. Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
At the occult show, I had snap tape on my pants, and I was laying down, and I rise up a la vampire, and the entire left leg just went. I mean, from hip to knee, it was just, I was like, I have to gracefully, kind of discreetly put these back on as best as I can and then move around on the stage because this was the start of the act.
Oh.
Which is why a lot of burlesque is improv.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think those went first.
Well, that brings me to a good question to tack on for Jenna's. In addition to the classes, in addition to the steps, to the moves, to the whatever, I mean, is there any advice you can offer her to prepare herself physically, mentally, emotionally? I mean, everything that goes into actually getting up on that stage.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, like the classes, like the Burlesque Academy is really good with, is they do a student showcase, which is like the most welcoming and positive crowd you could ever imagine.
It is like a drug.
And everyone's sitting there and they're like, we just want you to do well. It's like, and it's kind of easier to start off in an environment where everybody is like rooting for you. It's like, you're the horse they bet on and they're like, come on. And that's a lot less terrifying than, well, we paid $50 for these tickets and we want to see, and you're like, oh, hi. But yeah, like the student showcases are a really good way to get comfortable with it. And sometimes like just practicing at home sometimes helps because then you can get more comfortable, with your body and the way it looks, when you're moving. And it's good
Get
to get
advice
that.
from my husband.
I should probably get advice from mine, but no, I'm like, you can't see it till it's done.
I'm the same way.
But
She can't see it until it's all the way done.
Nope.
No.
That's like revealing all the punchlines to my jokes. I guess literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, my friends are like, let me watch, I'll give you feedback. I'm like, no, it's far too embarrassing to show other people yet. You can see it when it's closer.
So
Well, are there definitive rules?
Only TABC law.
Yeah. Yeah.
TABC?
Liquor licenses. So it depends on where you are.
Here, Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission. So
Yes.
just the standards of decency in a bar. Correct me if I'm wrong. Here in Austin, it is perfectly legal on a public sidewalk
Yes.
for a woman to be topless.
Yes.
But
Correct.
inside of a bar that's serving alcohol, it
That
is
is wrong.
not.
it is not. Yes, correct.
What? I mean, I'm confident that these laws were written by thoughtful people of science that were concerned about the well-being of our society.
Here's a
He's
question.
shaking his head, but one of our members is actually one of the people who helped word some of that. That was a certain member of our troupe. His job was for the city as a lawyer, and he was in charge of figuring out legalese for nipples,
For tits
under
out?
boob.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he
Interesting.
Exactly
told
where
me-
the line is crossed.
Yeah, it was a fascinating conversation because, if you've ever been with lawyers, they agonize over words, and I'm like, can you
Semantics
use
matter.
under boob in a
In-
legal
in law.
document?
Yeah. Well, and here's another question. When you go to a bar that has a patio, you are technically outside, but you are on the bar's property.
Anywhere that alcohol is served is...
What if it's served inside and then you walk outside? Sorry, I'm getting far.
Parking lot burlesque.
So there are some loopholes, not loopholes, but there are some distinctions. If there are a separate, like there's a set of doors that have to be established between the bar and the theater. There are certain black box theaters like Butterfly Bar and the Vortex, where they have a distinct structure between the two of them, and that's why the Vortex is a full theater as opposed to
Now a lot of
another
things
place.
about some cabaret shows I've been to make more sense.
Yeah, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, it was a Naked Girls reading.
Yep.
Yes.
Did they wear pasties? Am I remembering that correctly?
No.
That's what I thought, yeah. So that was actually,
I
for
know
me,
in
one
San
of my
Antonio-
introductions to burlesque. And I'm sorry to step on what you were saying, Jenna. It was very strange situation to hear about this show, to have had like very limited interactions with burlesque, to try and like convince myself that this is like a healthy form of expression, and then to go into a dark theater to watch women just reading books while naked, and then try to explain to myself and wrap my mind around how that's an art piece. And that cognitive dissonance, that challenge of processing that experience, I think for me was actually really beneficial. It was a big growth moment because it is sort of an inherently strange situation, as a lot of burlesque is, pushing that boundary.
It's also interesting that different states have different liquor laws.
Yeah.
And those influence how the style of burlesque that you'll see and what you'll see in those areas. New York is much more lax with theirs, and you'll see some very interesting art that way, of things being produced from places you wouldn't expect to normally. In Vegas, I think it's almost normal or expected to remove the pasties as the last reveal. And it really depends on a state-by-state basis, but it does sort of affect how the burlesque comes out and what you'll see in different places.
Right.
That's an incredibly interesting line of thought. Jenna, I apologize. Did you have any final questions for our guests?
Oh, just the reason that I had asked about the rules was because I know that, like in strip clubs, I know that in San Antonio you have to wear latex or pasties, and that's got nothing to do with TABC. So I was just curious about rules like that. Like, how is it different? I don't know.
I think...
Does it depend on venue?
Some of it's citywide. I know that a friend of mine who was stripping in San Antonio, or maybe San Marcos, they had a whole other, set of rules to Austin. There was someone who was somewhere where...
Dallas is weird.
You couldn't have underboob.
Dallas was that way, at least.
There was one, and there was one place where they had the pasties were under boob and over nipple, because this was okay, but this was not okay. It's really regional and it's really weird. Austin, I think, is pretty
lax with that.
Pretty much, as long as your private parts are in and your nipples are covered, they're pretty happy.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, well, awesome. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for calling.
Hopefully we'll see you at some shows and in some shows.
Yeah.
So, to wrap us up in our last 10 minutes, we did have a couple questions come through in the chat, so I'd like to pose these at you guys. Do you guys choreograph your own stuff, or yes, do you choreograph your own stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
I do.
Much to my own chagrin sometimes.
So that's another question. Is it, physically challenging to do so? I mean, do you go into it looking to challenge yourself?
It depends really on the act. If I want to make something that's going to be more safe, or if I need to make something a little bit more easy because there's going to be an act down the road or an act later in that show that's going to require more strength or stamina. It depends on a lot of different factors. Sometimes, yes.
It can be a fun way to get out of your comfort zone and try something new. I've got a few acts. One where I start off in a straitjacket and then I pole dance in the straitjacket and then get out and do a whole striptease thing. And that one was challenging because there was a lot of physics to figure out, like how can I actually grip on a pole whilst wearing clothes, and what kind of moves can I do without hands, and that one was kind of a fun one, just for a challenge to see if it could work. It can work.
Ooh. All right. Well, let's see here. Someone's asking, unless it was addressed and they missed it, how did each of you discover burlesque, and what took you from the mainstream and brought you into the fold?
I started, for my day job, I design clothing, women's clothing, and for a while I was doing a kind of a vintage retro type thing. So I ended up working with a lot of photographers and pinups and burlesque people. And then when I moved to Austin, I took up pole dancing. And one of the producers in town saw one of my acts at a pole show and was like, "Can you do something like this act, but without a pole?" And I was like, "Sure." And that was
With way more glitter?
same amount. No, more glitter, because you can't wear body glitter on pole very easily. So more glitter and less in the air. But that was my first burlesque show, and it was fun. I think I do that more than pole now.
Nice. So I personally have a question. We talked about how much glue and tape it takes. And I'm wondering if you guys have any tips of the trade for how to remove said glue and glitter and glitz and glam and tape afterwards.
I use, the kind of half and half eye makeup removers. It's like I use that to get rid of my glue.
Awesome.
Because it gets real sticky.
Yes.
It's a very relevant tip of the trade, I suppose.
A lot of the acts I do involve latex or PVC, which involves a lot of sweat. And as we're talking about the TVC rules, I got very scientific about my glue because it has to withstand a lot of activity and a lot of moisture.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a Janet Jackson, like nip slip, pasty problem?
My very first time actually doing it was a pole burlesque act. The first time I wore pasties, it was a straitjacket act. And fortunately, my back was to the audience and I saw it fall and I was like, oh. But yeah.
Just a 1-cup hand bra.
And that's when I got really, really obsessive about glue.
I could see how that would do that.
Backstage, in normal stage, you'd say break a leg. In burlesque, it's often pop a pasty.
Ah.
Nice.
Actually,
It's a
I think I preferred that Papa Pasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to close the show out with one last caller. It looks like Lana. Lana, you are on the air.
Hi, guys. It's Lana with the O'Brien's Orchestra. She asked me to call in earlier. I'm supposed to be on next week to kind of introduce myself.
Yeah, howdy. We just wanted to meet you and I guess to let everybody know that you're going to be joining us here in the studio next week. Where can folks who are curious about next week's episode find out more about, O'Brien's Orchestra and I guess sort of the great history of Rocky Horror Picture Show and shadow casting and all of that fun stuff?
So definitely they are welcome to check out our Facebook page, O'Brien's Orchestra. If you just kind of like search that on Facebook. Also, if you search Rocky Horror Austin, we have a pretty great website that kind of has like the history of the cast and shadow casting in Austin as well. So yeah, definitely check us out online. Message us. We have a show this Saturday, midnight at the Alamo Draft House Village. If you're interested and want to kind of check out that magic in person for yourself.
Just a few short blocks from the Atheist community of Austin's Free Thought Library. So great. That sounds like a great time. And we'll look forward to having you here in the studio next week.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it too. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. So I guess I lied. One last question. Do you guys ever do shows together? Or is it usually one-person shows?
No, it's usually together.
Oh, yeah. Get the whole troupe up?
Yep. Sometimes we'll do like different shows for other groups, and I think we'll still end up together sometimes anyway.
Yeah.
Like a Mansa Pat.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so to lead us off. Again, let's remind the audience where they can find you and see your shows.
Facebook, Black Widow Burlesque, and blackwidowburlesque.com. And I'm Hans Ferdinand.
And I'm Miss Okist. Oh, and we're also on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
As Black Widow Burlesque.
You did the Instagram last time.
I follow y'all.
Well, thank you guys so much. And we have a normal outro that Christy usually does for us. So, Christy, would you like to take us out?
Yeah, well, I want to thank y'all so much for joining us. I, of course, want to thank Ginger Snaps and Scarlet Fury for sitting down and speaking with us, for all of y'all for joining us for this conversation as we learn more. And, you know, of course, as always, we just want to remind you that whether it's with pasties or without, whether there's glitter involved or a chicken or a detachable finger, that, you know, when you're done here, we hope that you'll go out and give yourself a big ol' orgasm. Or, better yet, give somebody else one.
Bye!